So what did inspire you to join Special Forces from way back when?
Well, there's a story behind that.
Okay.
I'll give it to you really quick. I was in college at the time, or before that, and a place called Elizabeth City State Teachers College in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Okay. This is back in 1958, 60s.
Okay.
You know, of course, what was going on during that period of time.
Yeah.
So it was a new adventure for me going from New York down to North Carolina to go to
Wow.
school.
Yeah.
And, coming from an integrated society into an all black.
Yeah.
That was, but it was fine. I managed that quite well. And can you hear me okay?
It's a little bit faint. I don't know if they can turn up the volume, or maybe I need to turn it up on my end.
Maybe I need to talk louder.
Maybe talk just a little bit louder. Are you close to the screen?
I'm pretty close.
Okay.
Is this better?
That's better. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're in North Carolina. What got you to even think about joining Special Forces?
Well, when my father passed away, of course, I had to go back to New York and take care of the family. And my friend told me that my number was coming up for draft.
Right. Yeah.
So I decided I wanted to make my own decision where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So I went down and talked to the recruiter, and he said, we can get you in and you'll go in as airborne unassigned.
Oh.
Okay. And he said, when you get airborne unassigned, there are a couple of places that you might go, 82nd, 101st, or the 173rd, possibly.
Right.
Didn't mention anything about Special Forces at that time.
Okay. Yeah.
In fact, during the whole process of basic and AIT, we saw very little of anyone from Special Forces, except when we got to the airborne school, jump school. That's when I saw the first, I met up with the first people from Special Forces.
Okay.
I saw this convoy coming through the jump school area. Okay. And this sergeant, I don't know whether he was a sergeant major or whatever, but he was in charge of the convoy. Now, mind you, I was really impressed because they didn't say anything. They didn't, all he did was put up his hand and everybody stopped. Okay. He turned and made a signal and everybody got out of their vehicle and did the whatever. And here we are, sweat and looking at these guys. And I said, who the hell are they? Okay. That's right.
Yeah.
So they were there for.
Were they wearing green berets or at that time?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
They were. They were amazing guys. Okay. I mean, we just looked. And we kept asking, who are those guys, you know?
Yeah.
Anyhow, we didn't know that they were going to do a scouting mission or a recruiting mission at that time.
Okay.
We had no idea. But I originally had orders to go to the 82nd. But we were somehow in between that, we got asked if we were interested in doing other things. Okay. And I said, like, what kind of other things? They smiled at each other and one guy said, well, if I tell you, I have to kill you. You know, that's the first time I heard that.
Yeah. Yeah. That goes back a long way then. Yeah.
So I just smiled at him and at any rate, they checked our what do you call that? The ACE, the test that you take into the Army.
Yeah.
What was that called again? No, it wasn't the ASVAB.
GMAT.
GMAT, I guess it was.
Yeah.
Anyhow, my score was high enough that they came back and started talking to a number of us.
Okay.
Okay, and took us away from the unit for a night and
Mhm.
sat down and talked to people. And when I graduated, my orders were changed to go to SF training group. Okay,
Wow.
which was and got on the train and went from Fort Benning to Fort Bragg.
Right.
All right. They picked us up there, and still I had no idea of what these guys did, okay? Except that
Yeah.
they had their own mind. They had
Mhm.
their own way of doing things. okay?
Right. Yeah.
And I was impressed with that. And I said, fine, I'm willing.
Could I ask you then, was there a selection process, like, or so you got accepted in, but was there like what was the journey of selection or to actually be awarded the Green Beret? What occurred, or did that happen? I don't know, back then, did you get the Green Beret right away, or was that a process of selection and testing, further testing?
Back then, you did, bear with me. They decided on what MOS you were going to go into.
Right. Yeah. Mhm.
And they asked, like, which one would you like to go in? I said, commo, because in my AIT, I was in commo.
Okay. Mhm.
And they looked at my score and said, well, we think that you would be more adapted to being a medic. Okay.
Hmm.
And I said, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Wow.
I didn't realize at that point in
That's a
time,
big difference. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize at that time that the going into be a medic for special forces, the attrition rate was crazy.
Yeah.
Really crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So anyhow, I went the medical scene.
Wow. Wow.
Next thing I knew, of course, we did the PT and all of that kind of good stuff. And one of the other deals was when we arrived there, we're all sitting in this mess hall, it looked like, but it was a schoolroom, I guess. And and this is one of the things that I figured I was going to get kicked out of the Army or whatever, because one of the soldiers jumped up on the table and was explaining to us that what we were going to go into, we had to have the right mindset, because if we didn't have the right mindset, we wouldn't be able to work together with the team and get the mission done. Okay.
Right.
And says, anybody here don't feel like they can handle that?
Mhm.
Everybody said, oh, we can do that. Or I said, I can do that.
Yeah.
And then the sergeant comes and jumps on the table in front of me and looks down at me and comes out with the N-word.
Hmm.
Okay. Yes. And of course, I'm from New York.
Yeah.
Somebody comes that way with me, that's a fight. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And I looked up at him and I looked around and everybody got quiet. And I started to get up,
Mhm.
and because I was ready to fight this guy. All right. I'm a newbie.
Yeah.
3 or 4 other soldiers came in and grabbed me and sat me down. And he says, okay, we got the right response. Now let me tell you why we did this and what you have to accomplish in order to get through this.
Mhm.
And I said, I had calmed down. They let me go.
Hmm.
And I wasn't a bad dude, okay, but I had my own you just didn't do that to me. Okay.
Right, yeah,
So then they explained that to everybody, that we would have, we would be going into places whereby I would be the only one, I'd be the first, it would be the first time that some people would have seen me ever.
right,
Okay.
right. A
And
black man,
a black man.
right, yeah,
All right. And that was, I said, okay, no problem there. You
Yeah.
know, I'm from New York. I can do anything.
yeah,
Almost. So anyhow, we went over that part there, and a couple of the NCOs and one of the officers came by and sat down and talked with me, and I figured they were trying to figure out if I was going to be, if I could let that part of my life go, not
right,
life go, but that issue. Okay.
right,
So, and come from there, we went to, we're going back a number of years. So
yeah, yeah, so, well, whatever, so that was,
Yeah.
I guess, kind of a mental, they wanted to just, it was kind of like an old-fashioned mental kind of test of just trying to understand what might trigger you, I guess.
Right. And they got it too.
They got it, yeah, they got the trigger. So, yeah, but that wouldn't be acceptable today, certainly, but, yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we got my, I was chosen to be a medic.
right,
Okay. And all of the other preparations and whatnot, it was nothing for me to keep up with or to do. In fact, I was kind of like in the a leader because I was older. Okay. I went in at 24.
okay, yeah.
And they started right off calling me Pappy. Okay. Literally
That seems kind of strange today, doesn't it? Yeah, but
calling me
24 was old, definitely.
Yeah. And to this day, I still carry that that name.
Wow, that's something.
So we went to all of the training and went to Fort Sam Houston for the first part of the medical, and I passed that.
Yeah.
The first part was not a snap, but it was okay.
Right.
No issues. Okay. Coming after we finished the first part, then we went back to Fort Bragg,
Right.
another phase of training.
Mhm.
Okay. Finished that, and then they sent us back down to Fort Sam for a longer period of time and more advanced stuff. Okay.
Right, yeah.
Now that's when I ran into another issue whereby, am I getting away from your original question?
No, I mean, just you're talking about the journey to become a Green Beret. So
Okay.
do that, but we do want to get to your assignments and everything too. So,
Okay.
and your experience, but go ahead. I want to hear, yeah, what were some of these key things that really you recall and think were important in your becoming a Green Beret in that training? So
Okay.
have at it. Go ahead.
The testing and all of that at that point in time, for me, it was difficult because I had to study longer and more,
Right.
to make sure that I could keep up. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was carrying scores up in the 80s, high 80s and 90s. Okay?
Right.
And I still have some of my tests whereby they instead of giving me the scores that I should have received, they got nitpicky on me. Literally nitpicky. And because I didn't have an I dotted or said the same thing, but in a different way, they marked it down.
Yeah.
And for the first couple of tests, I said, whoa, I've got to work harder.
Right.
And finally, when I looked at mine and said, wait a minute, something's wrong here, you know? And I said to the instructor, I said, look, this is what the answer is, and this is what my answer is.
Right.
What's wrong with it, you know?
Yeah.
And he says, it is what it is, and you accept it or you don't. And he says, and the door is right there. You could leave anytime, okay? And I said, I want to talk to the next person up, okay? And I went all the way up to the school commander of the school at that time.
Wow.
All right. And I went in and told him, I said, this is what's going on and I don't like it. I said, I think they're picking it. By the way, I was the only black in the class.
Right. Yeah.
Okay? And I'm thinking, you know, you're trying to get rid of me.
Right. Yeah.
So the colonel said to me, and here I am at parade dress or at attention, and he says, all right, I want you to sit down and I'm going to talk to you for a moment. And he said, look, because of this situation, because you are who you are different than all of these guys, of course, because of your skin color.
Right.
He says, you're going to find if you're going to make it through SF, you're going to run into this often. And you're going to have to let that roll off your back and work with it and make it to your benefit. And he says, I think you're going to make it because here you are right here in front of me.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
And he said, do your best. Okay. And then I got a feeling that you're going to get through this, you know? And I said, okay. So I went back and I was not the honor graduate.
Right.
Okay?
But things changed? Did the grading change, or do you feel like
grading changed? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. I was getting the points, the score that I was supposed to get. Okay.
Yeah.
And my team, my classmates, I mean, they were just as upset about it as I was.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of the team coming to, or a team being a team coming together, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So
when did you get, when were you actually awarded the Green Beret then? So we're in this last section of kind of medical training. What happened after that?
After that, I'm sorry. After that, we went to, we were given the beret on our third or fourth, not mission, but portion of the training, okay? When we came out of the field on the last, when we went up to Uwharrie National Forest.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So you got put together with a team after all this medical training and did the whole Uwharrie Forest.
Right. And then it was just, you were just picked and you had this and this was your job. You're the medic on this.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Didn't know, well, knew a lot of the guys because we were going through at the same time.
Sure, yeah.
But that's how it was.
Yeah. Wow.
So we jumped in and did our thing. Okay. And that was one of the first times that we went up and that I'm a part of this group, the team, and we go up to this place that we were, our assignment was to check out the people there. give them an exam and talk to them and see if anything is going on and how
Yeah.
they're doing. Well, I went up and a kid, I guess he was about 6, maybe 7. And we're talking to the family, okay? And this kid comes by and he looks up at me, goes around behind me and looks at me, and I'm smiling at him. Then he takes his hand and rubs his hand on my hand to see if it came off. And I said, you know what? I didn't realize that in our country, there were still places like that.
Yeah.
And that was the start of my opening up. But when we got back off of that, then we were given the beret.
Yeah.
Okay. But we didn't have flashes on it. Okay?
Right.
We just had the crest on it initially.
Okay.
Okay. And that was the first part of getting the beret.
Wow.
Then we had to go, after that, had to go to the internship. Okay.
Okay.
Went to the internship. Mine was at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And that's when you follow the doctors around for each, bless you.
Yeah.
For each.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And we were to the point whereby the doctor would explain what's going on, or he'd have you explain what was going on, what we
Right.
saw. Okay.
Yeah.
And then he'd say, okay, this is your patient, you do it.
Wow.
Which was great because
Mhm.
we were capable. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, did I mention about the mid lab? I didn't mention.
No. Is that,
Okay.
go ahead.
I'm trying to get exactly when the mid lab came in there too, because we had the mid lab before we went to the internship.
Right. Okay.
And past that with flying colors. Okay.
Great. Wow. Let me, I would want to get to just your experiences as a Green Beret. I mean, if there's something else on the selection or that process, you can bring it up. But when you think of now that you are a Green Beret, what stands out to you in terms of the experiences or the missions that you perform? Can you share something about some of those that were the ones that really stood out to you?
Well, let's start in the beginning, of course. And as soon as I graduated, going to pre-mission training. Okay, that was great. I was in 7th group, that the company 7th group. And when we were not doing pre-mission training, we were doing the dog and pony show. That was a part of our work performance. Okay. And I remember this very well because mine was a hand-to-hand bit. Okay. And I enjoyed that. And if you can remember back that far, the pickup for the C-130 snatch.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. One of my teammates was supposed to be part of the dummy or on the dummy thing.
Wow. Yeah.
And a general decided that he wanted to do it and told the guy, he says, I'm going to do this one. And again,
Wow.
of course, if the general wants to do it, let's do it, you know? Well, he did it and it broke and he landed. Did you hear about that? You know about that one, right? Well, I was there when that happened.
Wow, I think
Yeah.
I heard, yeah, but go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, and he ended up in the trees and that's what saves his life, okay?
Oh, he didn't die,
No,
holy.
no.
This was the snatch where the C-130 would
That's right.
grab the balloon was up in the air and it would,
That's right. Yeah,
scissors of the, holy cow.
yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And
He's
then
lucky to be alive.
oh, yeah, he is.
That's a Foley, the extraction Foley,
Is that called the Foley
I think.
extraction? That's another word for it too. It could be the, but
Wow.
of course, when that happened, everybody just ran over and the ambulance went over and all that kind of good stuff. And I wanted to run over because I'm a medic, you know?
Yeah, sure.
But, they had better transportation than I had at that time, so. But anyhow, right after being pre-mission training, I took off and we went to, I had my leave in November of 1965. I came in 64, had my leave for November of 1965 and got into Vietnam just right after my birthday,
Wow.
1965. Yeah,
How old were you at that time then?
24.
You're still 24.
I'm
Wow.
still 24. Yeah,
Wow.
and oh, maybe I was 25.
25. Okay.
No, I was 25 because when I went in, I was 24. Okay. Went in, got in processed, got on my team, went up to, of course, you know, the in processing deal, Saigon, Nha Trang, get your assignment and up to Pleiku, because that's going to be in 2 Corps.
Mhm.
There they in process and all that kind of good stuff. And 3 days later, I was up at Doc Peck, up in you know where Doc Peck, you know anything about?
I really don't know. You have to, so where geographically, or was that Highlands, or was that
Yes, in Central Highlands,
Central Highlands?
up
Okay.
above Khantoum, okay?
Okay.
Up above the last A camp along the Laotian border
Wow.
and the I-Corps border. We were right there in that corner, right there.
All right.
Okay.
What was your team? You were on an A team at that time, or were you just
I went into an A team. Right?
okay? Yeah.
My senior medic took me under his wing, and of course, and showed me the ropes of that place, which was quite good, definitely.
Yeah.
We were both at the same camp for probably about 3 months.
Mhm.
Yeah, about 3 months. And I did my first mission probably maybe 3-4 weeks after I got in country. I was
What
trying
kind of missions? Not, we can't talk about unclassified things, but
No.
what was the nature of the missions that you were doing?
Bear with me. Search and destroy. Okay. Go out, hunt and find them,
Right.
and do the best you can to get out of it so that you can have the fast flyers coming in and beating them up.
Right. Yeah.
but mostly just going out and finding them. We
Yeah.
had an intel situation whereby coming from headquarters, from the C team, they would tell us what was going on in the area. Plus, our intel sergeant would do his stuff, and
Right.
we'd go out and check things out, lay ambushes and stuff like that. Okay,
Right.
for that whole area, and it was so close to the border. A couple of times there, we ended up in Laos,
Mhm.
thinking that we're gonna traverse this area, and ended up a kilometer or two inside of Laos.
Wow.
That wasn't good, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
What do you think? I mean, you had hundreds of experiences, I guess. Did anything really stand out to you in some way, or as you think about other special forces guys listening to this, that they would want to know about your experience, that you would come to mind?
First of all, the best thing that I would pass on to the younger soldier is to make sure that you're acclimatized. Okay.
Mhm.
I had a bad experience because here I am, the medic, and going in an operation,
Right.
and it was too soon because I was having a heat. And here I am checking my soldiers,
Right. Yeah.
making sure that they're okay and drinking water, and here I am, okay. And I had an incident whereby the other American with me checked me out and said, "Hey, look, Doc," he says, "We got to take care of you. Got to get you in a cool place for a while."
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So we did that. And that was my first mission. Okay.
Wow. Mhm.
So I learned real quick.
Right.
But after that, the medics would go out, not every, being that there were two of us, one of the medics would be going out with each of the
Like patrols or
each
Yeah,
of the patrols, okay?
yeah. Mhm. Missions. Yeah.
And have you heard of blackjack? This is just blackjack, blackjack 26. This is in 1966, blackjack 26. They had the Mike Force up there doing something. We had another unit of, I think, the 173rd coming in another way.
Mhm.
We had a patrol from our team out there with the mountain yard, okay?
Mhm.
And anyhow, I got to go out there also. We had the other medic out there, okay? And something was going on, and we were expecting to have a heavy contact.
Right.
So they took me out there also. So I met up with
Mhm.
my patrol, my team, and this was my first firefight.
Mhm.
I'll never forget this, of course. And this is one thing that made me believe in the Almighty. Okay. Because I was running up on our target, and something tripped me, knocked me down,
Mhm.
literally.
Mhm.
and I hit the ground in front of this tree, rolled, and got back up and started moving, but I hit and rolled. When I did that, I had bark and whatnot falling on top of me. Okay,
Mhm.
we go through and we got our went through, did our thing, and come back through to check things out. And I'm thinking, what the dickens was it that? Sorry, what?
Yeah.
What was it that? What did I trip over? Okay,
Yeah.
I went back and look, there was, you got your roots and whatnot, but it wasn't that knocked me down. It was something that hit me and knocked me down.
Really? Huh.
And I looked at the tree, and there were bullet holes in the tree. And then I remembered that the bark fell on me, and that would have, if I had been upright,
Upright. Yeah.
would have cut me in half.
Wow.
Well, maybe not cut me in half,
Yeah.
but I'd have gotten,
Mhm.
let me tell you, I believe, okay, I said that had to have been my father taking care of me,
Mhm.
but and too many other times things like that occurred,
Right. Yeah.
and so it made a believer out of me.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm already a believer,
Sure. Yeah.
but
But
this
Yeah.
had it sink in, okay.
Mhm.
And my other medic was up there already, okay, when we made the contact, and that was a wicked one, okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Um,
We've got, so you were in Vietnam. I guess I'm just trying to look at, I think if Lyle's there, we could probably still go for another half hour to an hour, but you've got another 20 years of experience, right?
yeah, yeah.
So I was thinking of when you look at all of your career, what do you think were some of the most challenging aspects of serving as a Green Beret? You can kind of overarching, if you think of that, and maybe we can drill down to that a little bit.
Oh wait, repeat that question. I'm sorry.
So what were some of the most challenging aspects of serving as a Green Beret?
Being too many times I was the only black man on the team.
Mhm.
And it wasn't challenging, except that when we went to places whereby, like for instance, we had like Denmark or Jordan was one of our places that the team was. Going in and going under a UW situation,
Right.
you've got making contact, and sometimes I had to stay back, okay,
Mhm.
in order not to compromise the mission.
Right.
Okay? But I understood that was not an issue. I understood that. And eventually I would get to, depending upon what we were doing, I would get to meet up with the partisans and everybody. And that's when you might say that that's when I started to show off,
Mhm.
or show up.
Mhm.
because sometimes the people that we're going to be working with would look at me strange, like, what are you doing there? You're not
Right.
supposed to,
Right.
you know? Like even in Vietnam, when I um, was taking care of a POW, and initially he spat on me, okay?
Mhm.
And I smiled at him. And I think that got him frustrated a little bit.
Mhm.
He's spitting on me and I'm smiling at him and
Mhm.
taking care of him and putting needles in him and smiling. And I said, he said, why are you, oh, he spoke a little bit of English, pretty good, in fact. He says, why are you fighting us? And I said, what do you mean fighting you? You know, and I didn't want to get into politics, of course.
Right. Yeah.
He says, your country don't like you. Your country hates you. They treat you bad. And here you are fighting for your country against us. And that put a thing in my head there for a bit, you know.
Mhm.
But I smiled and said, you know, my country is probably the best country in the world. I said, if I came, if I were in your shoes or things were switched, I said, you'd probably shoot me or kill me. I said, but I'm not. I said, I am trying to keep you alive
Mhm. Wow.
for you to possibly have a better life later on. Okay.
Mhm.
And after,
You know, those are very memorable experiences. I mean, that one with the POW, like you said, the near-death experience that you had. What can you think of other really? What are across your career? What were the most memorable missions or experiences? Any other ones like that, or ones that you really stood out to you as a Green Beret and what in those assignments?
during the incident between Honduras and Salvador back in the 70s,
Mhm.
I had my mission was to be the medical support for both the Hondurans and the Salvadorians.
Wow.
Okay, when they make contact with each other, we jump in a helicopter and go in and slide down between them to stop the firing.
Mhm.
Okay?
Wow.
And I would jump out and stabilize anybody who was shot up or cut up or whatever, and send them to the various hospitals. Okay.
Wow.
I did that for, I think I did that for about 6 months, maybe 7 months. Okay. During that conflict.
Mhm.
One thing that stood out in that, this was in Panama, out of Vietnam.
Mhm.
I made a mistake and sent a Honduran to the Salvadorian hospital.
Mhm.
When I got back to Honduras after this thing, I'm counting my patients, and I'm counting, and saying, whoa, I goofed up. I sent a patient to San Salvador.
Wow.
Okay.
That was their enemy at the time, right? That
Yeah,
was
that's where the war was. Okay?
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Mhm.
So I jump in the helicopter. I tell them, I said, we got to get to Salvador because I goofed up. And I admitted it. You know, I was wrong.
Mhm.
Well, I made a mistake. So when we got there, I ran into the hospital, and the soldier is still on the gurney in the hallway, about to run out of IV fluid that I had hooked up to them,
Mhm.
and it frustrated me so bad that I started to snatch people there in the Salvadorian hospital. And I knew them fairly well because I'd been taking patients back and forth, you know.
Right.
So I was snatching people and tell them, go to this, open up this OR, go in and prepare this for me and find me an anesthesiologist. I was just doing it.
Right. Yeah.
Just,
Wow.
and I told him, I said, I'm going to go in and scrub because I'm going to do the surgery on this guy. I got to make
Wow.
sure he stays alive. Okay.
Wow.
And here I am in the hospital, in the OR with my anesthesiologist ready. The patient is prepped and whatnot. The administrator from the hospital comes in and he's talking to me both in English and in Spanish, okay, telling me to calm down. Calm down. We can take care of this, okay?
Mhm.
And so he got his people going in to do the job. And he says, you can wait outside. And I said, no, I'm going to stay here in case one of you make a mistake. And I can make it right. Anyhow, they somewhere along the line, they got some pictures, okay? And of course, we were in civilian clothes,
Mhm.
okay? And here I am on the front of this newspaper, pointing my finger at the, yeah.
Everybody gets their 5 minutes of fame.
Yeah, that was, that was, and then they said, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was another interesting place to
Wow.
we
Yeah.
were there.
How'd you balance the demands of being a Green Beret with your family life? I don't know when or how, and all, did a family enter into your career, and how did you work that out with all these deployments and things?
Well, initially I thought that I had the perfect wife when I did get married. I got married in 1970, okay? I thought that I had the perfect wife, and for many years, everything went well.
Mhm.
She understood that I had to do my job,
Mhm.
and she was good at that point in time.
Mhm.
We worked well, had 4 children.
Mhm.
But I guess she got tired, you know,
Mhm.
and so for 28 years.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
after 28 years,
Mhm.
she decided she wanted to do something else. And,
Mhm.
okay. That was hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
But up until that time, like for instance, from Panama to Fort Devens, when I went to Fort Devens, everything was good team.
Did you have family time then? Were you able to, spend family time and, have some kind of balance to life, or was it, all work and no play, or how did they treat families back then, and how did?
The teams kept together, and when we went out, the families would have dinners together,
Right. Yeah. Mhm.
things like that. Or when we got back, we would have weekends whereby somebody would cook and
Sure.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
But when we left, mostly the team wives would take care of each other.
Yeah.
Which was good,
Mhm.
which was really good. Yeah, months at a time. And then getting up in the middle of the night and leaving.
Mhm.
I got to the point whereby I would leave a note. I didn't want to wake up the family.
Right.
I'd leave a note and a note on the refrigerator, a note on each one of the kids' door, you know,
Yeah.
and they accepted that, and they were looking forward always to me coming back, you know.
I guess back then too, there just wasn't the opportunity to communicate during a mission at all, or just, I mean, when you're in another country, I don't know if you're able to send letters or any recordings or anything back then, or to during a deployment. What
Right.
was that like?
Now,
Did you get any calls in?
no, in Vietnam, there
Yeah.
was no calls, okay?
Right. Yeah.
Something that was interesting, myself and my first sergeant, team sergeant was on a mission, and we're up in the top of this mountain, okay? So some strange things going on there that I don't even want to talk about it, but we're listening to our radio, and we're hearing a conversation of one of the teams from across the country talking to someone in California, okay? And we're in on their conversation, and no, we're not in on that, we could hear it.
Right. Yeah.
And they'd say, the intermediate would say, now remember, when you finish talking each sentence, you have to say over, okay?
Yeah.
And of course, they got a little mixed up there sometimes, you know. But I said, I wonder if I could call my parents, you know, but I never,
Right. Yeah.
did. Never called, but I'd write letters, and we'd get letters, get mail.
Mhm.
A cubby would come by, fly over the camp, and drop a parachute with mail for us, you know. Yeah,
Something.
that was.
Yeah. You know, when you think, beyond just your time in special forces, how has your time in special forces influenced your perspective on life?
At one point in time, of course, when I was younger, I was bulletproof, you know, and felt that way when I was younger. But got to the point as I'm getting older and trying to be not look good, but to show the younger people that you don't have to fight to get your point across. Okay? To be the best that you can be. And treat people the way that you want to be treated, okay? Regardless of who they are. If they spit on you, okay? Had that happen a couple of times.
Right.
And just wipe it off and smile and look. But life is so important, and your mental health is primarily what keeps you going. Because if you let yourself go into these slumps that you could go into after coming from shooting or nearly getting shot or coming close to death, and but you have to be able to look it in the eye and smile about it, okay? And not let it go because it's gonna be there, and realize that it's there.
Yeah.
Not put it in the forefront so that everybody else is affected by it.
Mhm.
Now, mind you, when I came back from Vietnam, when 3 months before I was getting ready to leave in 1968, they pulled me from Doc Peck because I had been there all that time.
Right.
They pulled me from Doc Peck and took me down to Pleiku to work the CIDG hospital. Okay.
Mhm.
This was supposed to be my cooling off point, getting ready to go back to the States. Okay?
Right.
I hope I'm answering the question then.
So,
During that period of time, the medic that relieved me got shot on an operation. So the camp was not, they couldn't do anything because you've got to have a medic there in order for them.
right. Yeah.
Okay. They were looking for medics hoping for medics to come back in,
Mhm.
come over so that they can get one up there.
Right.
But they were not, okay? And we were short on medics up in 2 Corps. So I volunteered to go back up to the camp because I knew everybody there, okay?
Mhm.
My place, it was my home for a while.
Right.
So I went back up to Doc Peck with probably 2 months left in country,
Right.
okay? And the camp's under siege,
Wow.
okay?
Mm.
But I had to do it because they needed to be operational,
Mhm.
definitely. You know?
What, I just want to ask you, I mean, maybe, but, so you could have said to yourself, hey, I'm down here, I'm in cooling off, safe area, I've done my time.
Yep.
What made you, go back up there your last two months? And everybody knows the last 2 months is when stuff happens, right?
True, very true.
Yeah.
But those were my people,
Mm-hmm.
okay? My team.
Right, okay.
And the yards, I was accepted in families up there.
Mm-hmm.
I loved them like I loved my own.
Right.
I said, I can't let these people down, okay?
Yeah.
I'm still, so they sent me back up there, okay? And of course, they're operational now. And I go back into taking care of the villagers and whatnot. They wouldn't let me out of the camp, because there was the NBA wanted me bad.
Really? Yeah. You personally, or they knew if they got a medic, they would put the place out of action?
Me personally,
Really?
they wanted the black doctor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they
Wow.
wanted Boxy Braun. Okay?
Really?
Oh,
Wow.
trust me. Yes.
Yeah.
They wanted. Anyhow, so the villagers would come to the camp and I take care of them. I'll come to and I take care of them and they go back to the camp and whatnot. Okay.
What contributed to your reputation with them so much that they knew you by name and by certainly you stood out as a black man, but what was it that got them to really want to take you out?
You're talking about the NBA?
Yeah, you said they had a name for you and they,
Oh,
They
the
wanted to-
villagers, yeah. Boxing Run, yeah. They wanted me, they wanted me and one of the villages that adopted me, they got the village chief and were trying to force the village chief to get me to come up to the village under whatever, because they knew that if something was going on in the village, somebody was sick, I would be there. I'd come.
right.
They
Yeah.
deliver babies, you name it. Okay.
Mhm.
And the village chief said, no, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
So what they did to him in front of his family, they tied him up and sliced him from his sternum all the way down to his pubic area,
Right. Wow.
right? And let him lay open there, okay? And told him, you don't do what we want,
Mhm.
this is what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
He did that. So they wrapped him up. Okay, they left the NBA. They wrapped him up and put him on a stretcher, not two sticks with a blanket, and brought him down to me. Okay.
Mhm.
Now this was before, I'm sorry, the time that I went back up.
Right. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah.
When they brought him to me, I looked at him and looked at, they had him wrapped up, okay, with the blanket. And I put my hand on him, on his shoulder, and I asked him, what's going on? And he smiled. He smiled at me,
Mhm.
grabbed my hand, took the other hand and opened up his, the blanket. And I saw him open, just from all his intestines laid out, whatnot,
Mm.
okay?
Mm.
I grabbed his, I grabbed his hand and looked him in the face and I said, we're gonna do the best we can, okay? I spoke Jay, by the way, that
Right.
language.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mhm.
And I said, we're gonna do the best we can. Brought him inside my little dispensary and cleaned him up as best I can. In the meantime, I called for a medevac. There was no way possible that I would have been able to keep him and keep him alive. with
Right.
Infection, because
Yeah.
it was open, okay?
Yeah.
So I rinsed him off as best I could
Mhm.
and put IVs in him, both arms, okay? Wanted to make sure that he had an opening there.
Mhm.
Clean him up as best I could. Took everything and just put it together and just wrapped it, okay?
Mhm.
Called down and got this medevac and I told him this is an emergency. I need somebody here now.
Mhm.
So they had to send a helicopter up from Pleiku all the way up to Doc Peck, okay? Got him in there and sent him down, gave him, wrote a note, told everybody what I had done. And 3 weeks later, I go down to Pleiku to the CIDG hospital to check on the patients that I had sent down. And here I see him sitting on his bed
Wow.
with a smile on his face.
Wow.
Okay. And as I walk in, he puts his hands out, those.
Yeah. You saved a life I mean, I know you saved a lot of them, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought he would have made the helicopter.
I was worried about that also, of course, but I did the best I could.
Yeah. Wow. What a reunion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, another one, I don't know if I should keep talking like this.
We probably need to wrap it up.
Okay. Another one, I was on this mission with him and they threw hand grenades at us and all that stuff. One of my soldiers got hit in the head with a piece of shrapnel, okay?
Right. Mhm.
His head was sunk in. And by the time I got to him, he was in and out of consciousness, okay?
Mhm.
And of course, his eyes, I could see that everything was going haywire. And I knew that I had to get the pressure off of his brain, all right?
Mhm.
I managed to get a screw and put a screw through his tissue and bring it up underneath the part of the bone
Right. Yeah.
and pick it up off. And when I got the bone off of his brain, you could see things starting to turn around already, okay?
Wow.
And got him to the hospital, all right, sent him with a group down. When he
What would
came,
be then, I think I heard Lyle in the background trying to wrap up a little bit, but what advice would you give to someone considering a career in special forces? Kind of wrap up what you've learned, but turn it into speaking to that younger person that's considering.
Yeah.
Or maybe ask you, what do you said, well, what should I join?
Yeah.
Why should I join?
I would, in fact, I've done this.
Okay.
All right.
I bet. Yeah. A number of times. Yeah.
I tell them, look, number one, you're going into an outfit. If you're selected and you make the grade, you're going into an outfit of men who you will never forget for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
Going into with a group that will cover your back and your family's back
Mhm.
the rest of their lives. You've got to be straightforward with them because they're going to be straightforward with you. That's what they
Right.
expect.
Mhm.
Okay. And they expect you to be honest. And although in life you're going to find some people who are not, you know, no matter what you do, they could be the best soldier in the world.
Mhm.
They don't have that integrity. Integrity is one of the best things
Mhm.
you can demonstrate and expect.
Right.
And be willing to go that extra mile, not just for yourself, not just for your team,
Mhm.
but don't forget where you come from.
Yeah.
Yeah, things here are not, you see, the VA, for instance, people talk bad about the VA. They will help you, just keep at it, okay?
Mhm.
But it's you. It's what you have here that's
Mhm.
going to keep you going. And I said, on your training, on your mission, sometimes you're going to be moving and you're going to say, God, I can't take another step. Realize you've gotten that far and you can take another 10 steps, you know,
Yeah.
take another 5 steps and then stop, take a breath, take another 5 steps, you know.
Wow.
Then they ask, well, what have you done that caused you that you had to go through something like that? And I said, well, on one of my insertions, I broke my neck. I didn't know that I had broken it at the time, but I wanted to make sure that the rest of the team was okay and were able to keep on with the mission.
Mhm.
My body at that point in time, I can still feel the tingling that I was getting, okay? And what I did, after I got everybody squared away and got ready to move out to go on that long hike to get away from the drop zone.
All right.
When things started to go tingling, I grabbed my straps on my rucksack and tightened it up. Okay.
Wow.
I tightened it up.
Wow.
And when we stopped and I'd sit down and I'd unloosen it and I'd start tingling, I'd tighten it up again. I did that. Okay. We were out there for 34 days.
Wow.
Okay. And I did that for
Wow.
that whole time. And during that period of time, my bones had started to knit.
Mhm.
And I didn't think any more about it because I could still do pull-ups. I could still run. Okay?
Right.
I still get the tingling in my hands and whatnot, but
Right.
I went in to get the thing that told me that I should do, go look at it, get to see a doctor. I had a baby daughter and I was laying on the floor and I pick her up and she slipped out of my hands. Okay. She was happy with it. She's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, what's wrong there? You know, and I did it again.
Yeah.
Out of my hands.
Mhm.
Next day I went to the
Yeah.
group surgeon and he says, let's take a look, take x-rays.
Yeah.
Look at the x-ray. He says, you damn fool. I said, wait a minute. What? He says, when did you break your neck?
God.
And of course I said, you gotta be messing with me. He said, no, look. Okay.
Wow.
So we could, after I saw that surgeon and went to the orthopedic surgeon, he says, we're going to do this rather than going and re-break it, you know. So they put me in a neck brace for 3-4 months.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
They say I said I couldn't jump, but
Mhm.
you know, you make things happen.
Yeah.
And another one, when they asked, okay,
Yeah.
I jumped into had a night jump and landed on an airfield, okay, on the tarmac, broke both my feet, okay, and kept on going with the mission, climbed up a mountain.
Wow.
And we did what we needed to do. And I said, okay, guys, I can't take it anymore because I can't take my shoe off. So they medevaced me
Wow.
and
Yeah.
got there and they said, how do you break both your feet? You know, and
And still walk. Yeah. I don't know that.
we
Well,
tied
Jim,
it
I know
up.
we've just broken the surface of an amazing, life as a Green Beret, as Special Forces and serving our country. And so, but I think we have to kind of wrap it up here on the hour. So, but really thank you for just sharing and making this a part of a record that will last and that others will be able to listen to and learn from. And I've personally just taken a lot just from listening to you and hearing your story and just tremendous things that you did and did for others in the service of our country and as a Green Beret. So thank you. I appreciate it.
And thank you for your time. I appreciate you.
You bet. All right.